Hey, this is Power Card, aka Project Pat, and you're listening to the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast, the best Ravens podcast on the planet.
That's pretty incredible. In fact, it's la-marvelous.
Thank you, guys.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. Hello, friends. It is Saturday, November 14th, 2020. My name is Jake Luke. I'm joined by Spencer Schultz here on a Friday night, doing our recording a little bit later than we typically do because of some exciting news. Had a fun little interview that we put together for this afternoon with Mr. Bradley Bozeman, offensive lineman for the Baltimore Ravens. Kyle and I went ahead and had a little 20-minute chat with him that is going to be tacked on to the end of the show. But in the meantime, we have a preview episode to get out to you guys later now. We're going to do it. And it is for Sunday Night Football, Ravens at Patriots. I'm excited. You excited?
I'm super excited. It's a fun game. Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, two of the most polarizing quarterbacks for their legs over the past, really of I guess our lifetimes. People have very strong feelings about those two gentlemen, and they've never played before. So I'm really excited. I think they're really excited as well, as Lamar Jackson definitely looked up to Cam Newton, and so many mobile quarterbacks do. And it's going to be exciting. The Patriots are an interesting team, a team that lost a lot of guys due to COVID from opt-outs and kind of put them behind the eight ball, but they've been scrappy. I mean, they barely lost to the Seahawks. They had a couple other interesting games. They played relatively well against the Chiefs, and at the same time played very poorly against the Jets, played down to the Jets and had a big deficit, which they overcame, and had a weird season so far. Bill Belichick kind of feeling weird too. He made some weird comments over the past couple weeks.
Getting a little surly, isn't he?
Definitely getting a little testy. And he's he's testy because he's resorting to the well, why don't you look at what you've done over the last 20 years or so? And then why don't you ask me that question?
Taking the record for our draft picks aren't very good, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. I'd take the 6 Super Bowl rings. Yeah, he's getting real surly. It's pretty funny to watch.
It has been. He isn't the same blank onto Cincinnati as he usually is. He's getting a little more into his feelings. And one of the crazier things, I might have referenced it on this show before, one of the crazier things that I've realized in the past year or two is that he does a film breakdown every week for NewEnglandPatriots.com. And it's really detailed, really detailed, going into schemes. And he's a true football historian. That's why he was asked by, I believe, NFL Network to do the NFL 100 history kind of segment. And I think that was like a 6-part series or something over the offseason, and true football historian. So anything Bill Belichick, obviously his dad as well, Steve Belichick, was a master of football innovation in many ways down at Navy in Annapolis. So Maryland, obviously Belichick, a local guy, and wrote really like a borderline Bible of scouting. Steve Belichick, Steve is his father.
I think it is, and he named his son.
Right?
Yeah,
I believe his dad is Steve. But he wrote like a Bible of scouting. I read that a few years ago. I think it's like $6 probably. Maybe it's more or less now. But anyone who is interested in scouting and trying to really understand like the fundamentals of football and the fundamentals of what different positions should show to be a prospect or to be, a big time player, or what they shouldn't look like, that is a good place to start. So I would highly recommend that. I'll look up the name of it. I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, grew up in Annapolis. I think he might have some, I don't know if he went to Key, but he might have some ties to Key in some ways. But yeah, his dad is from around there, some Navy ties. Big lax guy, which is always great. Interesting to see. My friend actually works for the Cal Ripken Foundation, so she's gotten the chance to meet Bill a little bit. And yeah, kind of a funny sort of, wry, sort of sly dude behind the scenes. He's not like going to talk your ear off. But like you mentioned, people say that he's boring and all this stuff. But if you get him talking about football, like real football stuff, he will talk your ear off for a long time. I mean, you look at some of these transcripts of press conferences he's done over the year talking about like directional punting. It'll be like 4 pictures or panels in the tweet and like take up the entire thing. So it's pretty interesting to see.
What if you ask him about like a comment that a player made after a loss? Like that's the shit he don't like. Like he doesn't care about not football. He cares strictly about things that occur on the white lines in detail.
Absolutely. But I mean, before we get into all that, how you been doing, bud? It's been a couple days since we last checked in here.
I'm exhausted. Been up since 5:45 doing some work for good old Sports Info Solutions. Had a very long day doing that, and shut my brain down for a little bit. Ate some dinner and started talking conspiracy theories with my mom, and that got me going again. That was like a little evening coffee. So I'm back and I'm better than ever. Plus, I mean, we've been enjoying the Masters. I'm not a huge golf guy, but I do watch the Masters every year. It is like that and like the US Open or things like that for tennis. Like I love to watch the event, but I don't stay in tune enough.
It's the peak of the sport. It's my favorite sporting event of the year, I think, by far. And even before I became like a massive golf fan, I only started playing really seriously a couple of years ago, but I've always watched it, and in particular the Masters. It's special, man. It's my favorite sporting event of the year, like I said, and really interesting this year. No fans or patrons, as they force the broadcasters to say, in attendance. Members are not wearing their green jackets because they don't want to stand out, which I thought was kind of a weird move. And it's been the course has been kind of a little benign because of some rain that they had come in on Thursday. So it's been an interesting, weird watch. But you and I have been going back and forth. We have some bets on some of these players. Watching Bryson just kind of fall apart after all the hype going into the week. And then some of our guys, I know we're both looking at a couple of these different players that we are hoping to win. And I think we actually did get a question on that. So we'll maybe be touching on it. But it's been a fun start to it so far. Can't wait for the weekend. And then it goes right into Sunday Night Football like we're talking about. So going to be a great sports weekend.
It is going to be a great sports weekend. We also have a Sunday Pac-12 game at noon.
What is going on with college football right now?
College football is not doing so hot. I think there was 14 games postponed or canceled. Maryland, Ohio State canceled, which really sucks for Maryland because they played really well against Ohio State, I believe, 2 years ago. Took them to the wire.
Yep.
55-53, something along those lines.
Weird, like overtime game. Haskins starting, I think. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
Anthony McFarland just ran all over them, but Maryland takes down Penn State, and the juices are flowing. Talia has been balling, and it's been fun. It's been fun, but that sucks for Maryland football. I'm a fair weather Maryland football fan, meaning that I'm kind of the same way about the Orioles. Like I have endless amounts of Orioles signed memorabilia, and much of my childhood was spent as a huge Orioles fan, Maryland Terrapins fan, basketball always, but like the Orioles, when they traded Manny Machado, I got really turned off and became extremely casual as an Orioles fan, and have been pretty casual over the last couple of years. Really, up until this year, I started to kick it back in. Same thing with Maryland football. When it was the Ralph Friedgen days, holy shit, I didn't miss a game. Like I watched everything.
I am so all in on everything baseball except for like baseball when the product is not good. So I can't sit there and like grind my way through some of these like 60-win Orioles seasons, which like plenty of people on Orioles Twitter that are hardcore diehard have to watch every pitch, which, that's great. Good friend of the show, Matt, is like that. He has his own podcast, actually, Nate Hit the Foul Pole, which if you're into the Orioles or trying to get into them, you should check that out. But yeah, I can't live and die with every pitch, but I love the business behind it specifically. And I mean, Maryland is the exact same way. It's basketball every single year. And then I don't care what anyone says. Even people that go to Maryland are fair weather with football. And we haven't had much to even really fair weather for pretty much our entire lives with them. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I spent many a student nights at Camden Yards watching them get drummed. I believe actually, I can't recall. I used to get taken to games by my parents when I was really little, but from the time I was like 7 and kind of knew what was going on around me, I think the Orioles were 0-23 in 23 consecutive games that I attended until I was like 12 or 13 or something like that. So I had a very rough Orioles experience, but Miguel Tejada, freaking Melvin Mora, those guys, couldn't get enough of them. Eric Bedard, loved it.
Up Rafael Palmeiro. I mean, it's just some great characters.
Yes. So I was very big into that stuff and eventually tailed off. I got really turned off by Manny Machado getting traded. I still am just a little bit, but I contemplated hexing the Orioles out of my life after that.
That one, like, I kind of understood. It's just like you got to move on, and like you're going to get a boon for him hypothetically, but it kind of felt like they didn't get that many great pieces at the time. It's starting to look a little bit better. I think Kramer is looking great. Yusniel Diaz is supposedly looking pretty good. I'm not really following the minor leagues maybe as much as I should be, but yeah, I maybe would have wanted a bigger haul for him, unfortunately, but they kind of did have to move forward. And now you got obviously Adley Rutschman down there in the minors, who's probably going to be that next Manny-esque figure, maybe even better, some people are saying. So very excited.
Yeah, well, then guess what will happen if he's better than Manny? He'll play a couple years in Baltimore and they get fucking traded.
Well,
that's why I have trouble being an Orioles fan.
The MLB
that's why.
The Angelos is to be able to sell the team, I think.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I used to hate on Peter Angelos a lot, and then I waited on him at Azumi in the Inner Harbor, and he was more than gracious, very polite.
They're good people, and they're weirdly like socially conscious too for like sports owners. You don't see that a ton, especially I think John. I've heard some interviews with him talking about some of the racial stuff that's going on in Baltimore City and how, we need to do that. And they put their money where their mouth is as far as that. They do not always put their money where their mouth is as far as their players go. But I think to be fair to that, like they made some gambles with Davis and Trumbo, and it didn't work out. And they don't have as much to work with, obviously, as the bigger market teams. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. At the same time, the Nationals coming to town, to DC. Took a lot of revenue away from them. And then there was an ordeal that doesn't get talked about where the Orioles basically tried to cheat the Nationals out of a significant cut of TV revenue there was like an incremental increase yearly where they would essentially cut the Nationals in more and more. And the Orioles tried to keep a lot of it. And that went to court and the Orioles had to pay a lot of money. So that doesn't get talked about a ton, but that happened last year and I was kind of fucked up and took a lot of money out of the Orioles' pocket. So I don't know, but I'm still on board. Maryland football. Let's talk some Ravens football. Let's flip it.
Yeah, you got me mid beer sip there. Sorry. Let's absolutely talk some Ravens football. We got, like I mentioned, Sunday night. The boys are going up to Foxborough, Massachusetts, the great white Northeast. Looks like it's going to be a sloppy kind of, wet game. Mutter was a mutter type deal. Ravens at Patriots. Pats at 3-5. Ravens at 6-2, kind of heading in different directions here. Ravens off of, up and down, but I would say convincing victory over the Indianapolis Colts. And the Patriots coming off of a not so convincing victory over our guy, Joe Flacco, and the New York Jets. In New Jersey. So, kind of two very different seasons. I think the Pats got off to a hot start. Cam Newton comes down with COVID. They have a couple of weird things happen, but they kind of are what their record says they are right now. 3-5, really battling to get back into a playoff contention spot here as the Ravens are hoping to push their way to that 7th win. So it's an interesting matchup. The Pats on tape, I didn't think looked great against the Jets. They don't look good by the numbers as I was seeing while running up the dossier a couple hours ago. So I don't know, man. The Ravens are favored at -7.5. I think that's probably a pretty good number right now.
Yeah, I've got them -7 right around there, and the over-under sitting at 43.5. Ravens heavy favorites. It's like I said in the beginning of the episode, it's tough. The Patriots lost Dante Hightower. An offensive lineman's name is escaping me, as well as Patrick Chung opted out ahead. So they started behind the 8 ball, 3 team leaders immediately out. And, they looked formidable in the beginning of the season. Cam Newton injected a ton of excitement. And they have that big showdown against the Seahawks that was close, went down to the wire, and a couple other games that have gone down to the wire, the Broncos, some other ones. And it's been a tough stretch for them, but they are doing what I think makes Bill Belichick happy, having a mobile quarterback and a very strong run game. Their run game, their run blocking, exceptional. They have a really good offensive line, especially in the run blocking aspects. They do a lot of creative things with long traps where they trap down two gaps, which is very unique and very old school at the same time, and able to do all these fun things that do feel very Navy football, very old school football. And Bill Belichick has always kind of had fun whenever he's had a little bit of mobile quarterback ability and doing some different things and having quarterbacks play different positions. Julian Edelman, all those former kind of quarterbacks / guys that he's had. Gunnar Olszewski right now on the wide receiver department, a guy who here's a guy. Oh, we're gonna get that.
Now, this guy, Gunnar Olszewski, I think you may have botched the pronunciation there, but let me tell you what, he's coming in here and playing a role that we're all too familiar with White Slot
Bemidji State
Patriots. You look back at Braxton Berrios and Julian Edelman and some of these guys. It's quite the legacy that he's going to have to live up to, but he's off to a hot start. I can say that much.
Yeah, he was like the 2018 Northern Sun Intercollegiate Defensive Player of the Year as a cornerback. What'd you say?
Because of course.
Yeah, because of course. He was a D2 conference defensive player of the year as a corner, has a very sick tattoo on his left arm that is just I played D2 football, and he's one of their rotational receivers, and it's not surprising to anyone. Going back all the way to the Troy Brown days. Troy Brown or Tim Brown? I'm crossing myself up.
Troy Brown
days playing DB and wide receiver.
And Edelman.
Edelman's gotten in there on the other side of the football over the years. Not in a long time, but when he was a Bieber cut youth in the NFL trying to make a name for himself, he was willing to do anything.
It's so funny going back and watching those playoff matchups between the Ravens and them, because I think in 2011, every now and then it's just on NFL Network or whatever in the background, and it's the Ravens are on offense for a while, and then you just hear, and there's the tackle by Edelman. It's oh yeah, that was the thing for however long.
Exactly. But this team is interesting. Funny enough, Patriots fans, if you go into the annals of Twitter, Patriots Twitter, they are clamoring for Jermaine Illuminor to get healthy because they want him back because he's been mowing people down in the run game, which is just so frustrating as a Ravens fan, as the Ravens are struggling to knock people off the ball in their typical run concepts a lot of times. So Patriots are scheming it up in the run game department. They don't have a great running back. I think Damian Harris has done a really great job. I believe he is questionable for this game. So are 37 other Patriots Classic. But he's been doing a great job following his assignment and getting through the gap. They are lethal with Cam Newton down around the goal line. They do some interesting things, but in the end, this team has Jacoby Myers, lacklusterish, Julian Edelman, no tight ends, and not a lot of weapons on offense, even if the Ravens end up not being able to trot Jimmy Smith out, which sounds like it is literally doubtful on the injury report, and he didn't practice on Friday as we're recording this podcast. So
shout out to MD Law So Hard, by the way, having a meltdown about that.
Yeah, MD Law So Hard was not happy. Not happy. Doubtful does not mean out. Down, but not out.
Down, no, I was going to make a relationship doubtful joke there, but we don't have to go that way. Actually, no, him. He'll fucking murder me.
That's true. But we were chopping it up earlier, but anyway, so they just don't have a lot of juice on the perimeter. They can't really threaten vertically. Jacoby Myers is a really nice possession receiver, a guy who came out of NC State. And when you're watching Kelvin Harmon, who is getting a ton of pre-draft buzz, a lot of guys had him in their, top 5, top 7 receivers in that 2019 class. Jacoby Myers creates separation across the middle, in breaking routes, tough over the middle, get some yak, chain mover, all that stuff.
84.1 overall PFF grade, which is very good.
Yeah, he's a gamer. He's a nuanced, savvy route runner with good hands, understands leverage, has good release packages, just creates room for himself and catches a damn ball. He can sit down against zone really well and is a smart receiver. He did have a near fuck up against the Jets where he actually might have fucked it up. He was 3rd and 16 and he caught the ball 15 and a half yards and immediately ran backwards 2 yards and then had to try and lunge again and get the first down. So just a little tiny things, but he gets open for himself. And as we're getting a ton of targets, he actually has, I think in the last 3 games he's played the entire game, has the number 2 target share in the NFL behind Stephon Diggs, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's between Stephon Diggs and Nuke down in Arizona. So that's their guy. That's who they like to target on offense. And I like Jacoby Myers. He's fun to watch. I'm really excited for this matchup overall. strength on strength a little bit. Patriots like to run the ball, do some creative things. They don't have a ton of juice on the outside, but Ravens have done a good job shutting the run down. Calais Campbell will obviously be missed in that department, but overall, the Pats don't have enough juice, it feels like, to really hurt the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens would have to lose the game for themselves on the offensive side of the football, a la, what happened against the Steelers, in order for the Patriots to have a chance in this game. But maybe this ends up being a one-score game, something right along those lines. The spread 7, so maybe it ends up being that way a little bit. We did see the Ravens have a little bit of a meltdown against the Eagles in ways, but it just feels like the Patriots very outmanned on that side of the football, especially.
Yeah, 7 feels a little high, just looking at I sometimes talk about the laundry and the helmet or whatever you want to call it, just sort of the mystique surrounding a franchise. It does feel high going into a game against the Patriots in New England. But I mean, like you mentioned, looking at the numbers, looking at the tape, I mean, it does look like the Ravens are the better team right now, regardless of what you want to say about the Ravens offense. And speaking of the Patriots offense, you're talking about, I think, 24th in total DVOA, and then they're like 28th in passing and then 3rd in rushing. So it's like a weird offense that they've got going on.
They really move people off the ball. Michael Onwenu, I guess we say right tackle right now. He's been playing right tackle. He's also played left guard and right guard.
Yep.
He is a Michigan boy. He's a rookie, and he was known as, a mauler, a downhill guy, but he has been overall incredible, able to reach, combo, seal inside. I mean, just moving everybody off the ball. I think he's let up one sack so far or something like that. And he's been outstanding. They have David Andrews, an experienced center. They really do trot out a good offensive line. And like I said, that run game moves people.
Illuminor a lot too.
I think he missed last game or two.
Did he?
If I'm not mistaken. But he's a top rated guard.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, him, Isaiah Wynn, they've got some guys that are really kind of coming along. I think 4 starters over 80 PFF grade and then 2 in 90. You mentioned Onwenu, he's one of them. And I forget who the other one was. It might have even been Illuminor, which would be kind of sick if you're a Ravens fan. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's a weird offense. It's a weird watch because, they win that game at New York, and it's like you take a look at their offense and you don't even see what it is that they're doing pretty well. And that's kind of the case if you're just sort of somebody who doesn't really pretend to know what they're talking about when it comes to offensive line play in the run game, which that's me. I really don't. And so I kind of was maybe missing the significance of what they were doing against the Jets, but I do know, or at least could deduce, that they were moving the ball very well. And that included with Cam Newton on the touchdown that he scored, a couple other plays, and Burkhead, I think, also got some action there. So they definitely have to pound the rock, but they're one-dimensional in that respect, and even more so than the Ravens, which a lot of people are coming after the Ravens offense for. They're an even more amplified version of that.
Right, and it's a lot more under center stuff. It's a lot more tight, heavy personnel runs. They vary it up extremely well, similar to the Ravens in many ways, with the power, with the zone, with leads, with counters, with all kinds of stuff. They sprinkle everything in across the board, and unfortunately, they just don't have a home run hitter. Sony Michel wasn't even a home run hitter when he was healthy. He's more that consistent back that follows his holes and does what he's supposed to do. Harris, I think, has filled that role pretty well. Obviously, they still have Burkhead, James White, trot those guys out there. And Burkhead is a sneaky little devil. He can hurt you a little bit. He has some juice in weird ways. The Ravens have had many encounters with Burkhead over the years. So I don't think I need to go too into detail with Ravens fans about that one, but their offense just, I don't know. They don't throw the ball well and down by the goal line. I don't know. I haven't even looked. How many touchdowns has Cam Newton thrown for?
2.
2 touchdowns this year. Really struggled to throw the ball inside the 20. And when they're going to run the ball and they don't have, outside threats that you have to respect necessarily, especially with the Ravens having Marlon Humphrey, throw him on Jacoby Myers and you're probably going to be good to go there. So it feels like the Patriots are mightily outmatched in that department. Cam has thrown some picks. Not great. Not a great offense. Not a great offense. But you did mention, their DVOA is 3rd in rushing. It's been top 5 all year. The run blocking is outstanding, but they They just really have to string long drives together. And against a Ravens front that has so many weapons up front, Derek Wolfe, Brandon Williams, McPhee, Judon, those guys, Jalen Ferguson been playing some pretty good ball, especially inside, closing down the line, things like that, able to really stiff and hold the edge on some inside concepts and some C gap concepts. Colts got him a couple times with some misdirection, but those guys are going to be able to hold ground and tackle, and the Patriots don't have guys that force missed tackles or that break away in the open field, things like that. So they really are going to have to play perfectly on offense to beat this Ravens defense.
Scale of 1 to 10, what is the concern level taking Calais Campbell out of that equation?
For this game, I think the biggest thing that Calais Campbell does is create pressure. He's the only substantial interior pressure that the Ravens have had dating really back to Haloti Ngata a long time ago. They haven't had a length, strength, double team ability and mobility kind of combination like him in forever. And, last year he put up some 70 odd pressures, which was more than the Ravens starting defensive line put up between Williams and Pierce and those guys. So, I mean, at this point for this game, I would say it's like a 4 or a 5. I don't think because of that, Derek Wolfe has been an outstanding run defender, outstanding run defender, really holding up well at the point of attack, showing great mobility, chasing down the line. He's been using this really nice long arm on inside run concepts where he's taken his outside arm and just getting it right into the neck of dudes, sitting Indy a couple times and chasing plays down from behind, doing all kinds of stuff. He seems to have a really strong understanding where the ball is going against different concepts. So I think he's going to take a lion's share of those snaps. And because the Ravens, aren't really going to need to generate pressure to win this game necessarily, I don't think it's a big loss. But moving forward, the next couple games, definitely a big loss.
And then obviously Jimmy Smith is a great tackler in the secondary. I mean, is it a bigger loss in terms of the fact that, the passing game, or is it a bigger loss in the run game? Because I feel like he does get mixed up in the run game a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no, Jimmy's always been a strong tackler. He's a freak, man. He's a literal giant for a cornerback. He's not quite as big as Richard Sherman, but probably, just about as THICCCCC.
Yeah.
He's a thick boy. He's always tackled well. Yeah, I definitely agree there. And but at the end of the day, Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott do so many things, and getting Marlon Humphrey back counteracts that, especially because I don't foresee the Patriots really wanting to rely on 11 personnel and spreading the ball and trying to throw it. So Marlon will be back there and the big boys up front. So, I mean, I think the Patriots could have like a mildly successful day running the ball, but, in terms of like 30 some carries, 120 yards or something, I don't know, but 4 or 5 yards a carry, but I just don't see them being able to punch the ball in, or when they get stuffed consistently get out of 3rd and long. And with the way the Ravens have been dialing stuff up, it's going to be an uphill battle for that offense for sure. And the overtone is that the Ravens are not going to take the Patriots lightly. The last thing, John Harbaugh on his deathbed, his last breath would be like, don't take the Patriots lightly. Like, stick it to the Patriots every way possible. The amount of satisfaction and I don't want to say gloating, but smiles out of John Harbaugh after the Ravens romped the Patriots on Monday Night Football last year. He fucking hates losing to the Patriots, man. He always has. The bitching and moaning he did after that playoff game with the ineligible man stuff was pretty Jim Harbaugh-esque. And I don't think they'll take them lightly. They're going to want to smack the Patriots down on Sunday Night Football and kind of get revenge for some of the things the Patriots have done to the Ravens. But I don't think the Ravens are going to take this one lightly one bit.
I have a take.
Take away.
I am a little worried about Marlon. I think
COVID-wise?
Yeah, I think everyone's like, just plug him right back in, and he's just going to be punching balls out and being an all-pro again right away. Zeke got it. He has not looked the same since. It's been months. Cam got it. He has not looked the same since. It's been a couple weeks. Some of these guys are getting it, and they're not just coming back right away. And I know Marlon's a young, healthy guy, probably is going to appear to be fine on the surface, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's maybe lagging a little bit, maybe having a little trouble stepping up to do some of the things that we've come to know him to do consistently. I don't think long term, but I don't know, man. These first couple of games, I don't know if I'd be surprised if he's going to be maybe on the wrong end of a few big plays.
I don't think it's going to deter him from getting to the football. I understand. I hear what you're saying. Like it can make you winded and things like that. It affects your respiratory system, but I don't like, number one, the Zeke thing. Their whole offensive line got hurt, and then Dak got hurt, and I think those are probably the main culprits there. But I wouldn't think that this is a game where, you're going to need him to be covering 55 yards downfield repetitively. And I don't think it's going to affect him in the way of like being able to step into the fan. He's going to step into the fan against the run and against screens and anything like that. But yeah, maybe he's lost a little tiny bit of juice. It's just like if he truly is good to go and is asymptomatic at this point, and it was not a big deal. I mean, I know people that had it for a month and couldn't get over it. And for instance, I know a personal trainer, I'm not going to name names, but a personal trainer that I'm friends with, and they had it and took them like 8 weeks to get back into the gym. And they're a gym addict. Von Miller, I know Von Miller has asthma. It affected him for sure. But I know other people that had some symptoms, had definitely sniffles, coughing, some congestion, things like that. And back into the gym. Good to go. Don't feel any residual effects. So I think it affects everyone differently, but I mean, I wouldn't rule it out entirely.
And it's something I don't want to just recklessly speculate on. I just, looking at some of the other examples, I feel like there may be some cause for concern, but I do think you make a point there where he's obviously not going to be as involved on a play-to-play basis like somebody like Cam, especially Zeke, maybe a little bit to another extent. And I mean, of the two of us, you're the one who's had it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it's like, but just, a little something to keep an eye on, I think.
The only thing that my experience with it lets me know is that it's different for everyone. So it's basically it's hard to pontiff or to project what it's going to be. But I wouldn't rule that out. Who knows? I mean, if he sounds hoarse and is having some trouble running, like that.
Which, by the way, he does not. Following him on Instagram, he's back to his regular shenanigans, dancing. Wow. Ingram and screaming at the top of his lungs, maybe too.
He's like a 4-year-old boy when he gets excited.
It's like, all right.
I love it. But yeah, I mean, that side of the football, it's going to be, the Patriots are going to have a workman-like, efficient, well-executed, well-schemed strike. And it feels like the cards are stacked against them, but I wouldn't say it's terribly dissimilar in terms of talent from what the Ravens faced against the Colts from a talent standpoint with the Ravens offense against the Colts defense. I think that was a little bit closer, and, having the quarterback able to make plays and do things is an X factor, but that shows that the Ravens had to be really mega efficient is the point I'm trying to make. They had to go 10 for 10. They had to run the ball successfully when they needed to in the second half. Like, there was a very slim margin for error for the Ravens offense because they were outmanned a little bit. And I feel the same way about this Patriots offense against the Ravens defense.
Very true. And I guess with that, we can switch over to the other side of the ball. Patriots are usually known for having a strong defense. That has not been the case recently, at very least. What is kind of the first thing that jumps off the screen to you with this Pats defense?
They're blitzing like insanely. They're blitzing like Wink with his hair on fire.
What a sight that would be, by the way. He would have some big Guy Fieri vibes if he were to do that.
If he got like some, oh my God, he would. He would look just like Guy Fieri if he got frosted tips.
I don't know why that came into my mind, but yeah, that's
the fact that he's not Guy Fieri for Halloween is like frustrating. Maybe he is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with COVID times you can't really do that, but next year hopefully.
But like he could have done that last year, the 5 years prior.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, we'll have to get in touch with him. We'll get him on the podcast, and we'll tell him.
Donald, have you been Guy Fieri for Halloween? But yeah, the Patriots are blitzing since week 5. They've been blitzing 47.4% of opponents' dropbacks per Next Gen Stats. Opposing quarterbacks have gone no tutties, 4 picks, 60.2 passer rating when the Patriots blitz. And the reason they have to blitz is because they've been missing Stephon Gilmore. They can't afford to let passers hold the ball. They don't have any strong pass rushers. Particularly, I think Chase Winovich has done some things, and they've had a couple guys that have done some things, but they don't have a guy. They don't have any guy at all. I don't think they're able to. If they don't blitz, they can't win straight up. And they did that last year. I mean, last year they led the NFL, or they were second in the. They either led the NFL or were second. Ravens were 1 or 2. I can't recall. In cover 0, and that's what they like to do. They've been having fun with that. That was the big thing last year when the Ravens faced off against them, and Ravens handled it really well. And it's going to be a test again. Ravens can counteract that just by doing what they did in the second half against Indy. Keep Boyle and Ricard in, man. Keep those two guys to aid your offensive line. They are like 0.8 of an offensive lineman each. And having those two back there is like unbelievable. You can use them to pin a pass rusher, preferably a good one or one of the more threatening ones on any given team. And those guys can really lock it down, and then Boyle can go leak out if he needs to and be a little safety valve. But I think that's a big thing to be able to counteract them. They want to do similar things to the Ravens. They want to press you. They want to get up in your grill, force you to throw to your primary read, maybe disrupt the timing and intercept some balls. J.C. Jackson, a guy that I really wanted the Ravens to target at the trade deadline, has had an up and down year. He had a rough week last week. I believe he had a pick as well. He has had, I think he's allowed 5 touchdowns and also has 5 interceptions on the year per SIS. And he had to step up and try and be, corner number 1 with Stephon Gilmore out. Stephon Gilmore's knee, apparently, I think he missed practice yesterday. So who knows with him? He has had an up and down year as well. They missed Patrick Chung. They still have McCourty back there playing high-level football. But overall, their front 7 can't generate pressure, doesn't stop the run well, largely useless. So this is a good get-it-right game again for the Ravens without Ronnie Stanley to pound the rock and threaten the Patriots defense downhill. This could be a big Gus Edwards game, it feels like.
Is the blitzing thing and kind of sending all those guys and leaving open space, is that part of the reason why the Jets were so successful off play action in that game? Because it felt like every time that they were completing passes or gaining first downs, there was Joe Flacco, Gary Kubiak type thing where you're in the I formation, little play action, and then whichever wide receiver, Perryman or Mims even running a crosser. Do you think there's something to that?
I haven't gotten a chance to watch the all 22 of the Jets game. I've watched some Patriots already this year, but to me, it looked like Flacco was murdering them on play action as I watched the game in real time. He hit like 5 big play action passes. I think he had like 162 yards on play action, something like that.
Yep.
And I'm sure that the Patriots were blitzing on at least half of those, or about half of those, because like I said, about half of all dropbacks they've been blitzing. So yeah, I think not getting home is a big deal. And if you can get the ball out cleanly, do it. And if the Patriots want to do that, this could be a Hollywood game as well. I mean, let Hollywood go make plays.
What I was thinking was little Willie Snead action. You mentioned Hollywood, you mentioned Gus Edwards, but Willie Snead has been coming alive the last couple of weeks, just finding open spaces in the zone, sitting down, catching the ball, turning around and running. And it felt like the Jets, some of those Jets players were doing that. Little play action, little, clear out the defense with Hollywood and, maybe get Boykin running a little bit and just clear out that space for Willie to just eat like he has the last couple of weeks. I think this could be another pretty big game for him.
I agree. And we've talked about what the Ravens need to do against the blitz. They need to get to the line quicker. They need to communicate pre-snap, make sure there's a hot read, make sure somebody's coming open quick, and giving Lamar a quick safety valve. But Willie Snead, it feels like we've said on here before, why, like, it got to the point where we're like, all right, if you're not going to use Willie Snead, trade for someone that you'll use. I've never understood how he runs so many routes. Also, really has never done anything to be like, what have you been like, damn, Willie Snead really didn't look great, didn't look good at all. I can't really think of any games off the top of my head where it was like, damn, Willie Snead does not look so hot. He's
kind of the jack of all trades, master of none type deal, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think his job is to block effectively. He's that motion blocker a ton. He stays in the slot for the most part and, finds soft spots in zone. And against man, he can kind of give you the shake. He runs a lot of slants, a lot of crossers, easy man beaters. And he's just like a little bit of a technician on those. Works across, gets some leverage, and he can't really run away from guys, but I like to say he motors. Like, he's not fast, but he like gets going, and he'll pick up like 15, but never 50.
He's like a nice mid-class Subaru,
A nice Subaru Legacy.
The kid, owner of a Subaru Legacy.
The old Subaru Legacy. But he does his damn job, and I love Willie Snead. I think that it was really like his limited usage is so peculiar to me. And even dating back to last year, like, he did wild things against Kansas City in 2019. Had that insane like helicopter catch. He's made plays against Kansas City quite a few times, and then just didn't get targeted. But the last 2 games, I think he has 7 catches, 147 yards, 153 yards, something like that. So it's good to see him get going. But if they're going to blitz heavily, run that kind of stuff, Hollywood, get Hollywood the ball. It's about time. Get Hollywood going. And there's been some trouble with that. I feel like in this Colts game, there were a couple times where there was some soft coverage, and there was not really a linebacker that could have hooked underneath of anything. And it's not Madden, but at the same time, like, let's fucking signal a slant over there, or just a quick route where he just turns to Lamar and Lamar throws him the ball, and
you audible to the use soldier play.
Yeah, you hit, what is it, Y, or you hit X, Y, and then use soldier button, which is, I guess, like the right stick to the right button. Yes. And that's use soldier. So use that damn soldier. See what you can do. And the Patriots are really good against tight ends for some reason this year. No tight end has done really anything to them. I believe they really shut down Travis Kelce. They're, I think, in terms of fantasy points, which isn't, hashtag analysis, but I think they are like allowing like 4.7 fantasy points per game to tight ends in full point PPR, which is like 2 catches for 25 yards, like nothing at all. So Mark Andrews, who knows? Maybe they go game breaker away. They did use Mark Andrews a few times last year, but Patriots have been pretty shut down on that aspect. And overall, I mean, I think this is a game where the Ravens can just run the football on the Patriots straight up. They don't have the linebackers. They don't have the mobile kind of disruptive interior presence that we've seen have some success. I mean, DeForest Buckner last week was a menace, and the Patriots are the antithesis of DeForest Buckner up front.
Very cool. So what do you think? Do a little predictions, then we get to questions, then we get out of here with the interview?
Yeah, let's do it. Prediction-wise, it's really hard for me not to say this game is going to be a blowout. It just feels like it is. I have a gut feeling that it's like a little close in the first half or something, like, and then the Ravens run away with it. But I just don't understand how the Patriots are going to be able to stop the Ravens' rushing attack. I don't think they have the athletes up front. I don't think they have the speed up front to stay with Lamar Jackson. And it feels like the Ravens really started to get something going against the Colts. Patriots also on a short week, just a day, but doesn't help them. So let's go. I think the Ravens put up points in this one. Let's go 30. Try and aim for a scoregami. I don't have the list, but 39. Patriots 19.
I feel like that's definitely not going to be a scoregami, but
39-19. Probably not.
I'm gonna go maybe a little similar to what we've been seeing. I think they're going to get off to a slow start on offense. Some of the Greg Roman shit is going to start up again, but they'll turn it on. It'll be okay. Ultimately, I said in the dossier, Ravens 27, Patriots 17.
27-17. So that would be 3 tutties, 2 field goals. Patriots find the end zone a couple times, kick a field goal. Who is their kicker? That's one thing I didn't look at.
Is it that alt-right dude?
I do not know. Patriots kicker.
Name? That's a good question. Might be. It's not Nick Folk.
I think it was Nick Folk at one point.
Patriots kicker.
Justin Rohrwasser.
Yeah, that's the dude with the.
That was in May. Is he still the kicker?
31-19 is a scoregami. Okay. Patriots kicker.
I said 39-19, not 31-19. 39-19. Patriots cut rookie Justin Rohrwasser and Nick Folk.
Yeah, because I remember
September.
Twitter was taking a little bit of a victory lap after that kid got cut because of that tattoo they had. which
What did he have?
a tattoo of the 1%ers, which is like a Proud Boys-esque group.
Ah, wow. That's such a weird thing for a kicker to have in particular.
Yeah, I think he went to Marshall. Yeah, it's a very bizarre situation. I don't even know.
Kickers come from Marshall. Yeah, it's Nick Folk.
Okay. Very chill. So 27-17. Okay, let's get to some questions then. Had only a handful or so coming on Twitter. So let me pull that up right now. We had Hugh Neutron. Love the show. Thank you, Hugh Neutron. Is the Kyler Lamar comparison warranted? We still got a whole lot of football left. I think he just means for the season. Shouts to my uncle, who is the owner of Cooper's / Slante in Fells Point. It's a nice little.
Can you repeat the last sentence about Santes?
Shout out to my uncle, who is the owner of Cooper's / Slante in Fells Point. I think I've been there. Little Irish spot, maybe.
Who put that?
Hugh Neutron, Liam F. Ridings, or Fridings.
I love Santes. The food there is incredible, and Cooper's too. Cooper's had a shark burger last year.
Shack burger.
I don't know where that came from, but that's so sick. I love those two places. I thought it was my friend Clay because we had this whole thing about there's a golden retriever story. The logo of Cooper's Tavern is a golden retriever. We thought we knew the owner of Cooper's Tavern because their dog's name was Cooper and it was a golden retriever, but
that looked
mistaken. Nope, but that's awesome. Love those two places. Unofficial sponsors of the pod officially.
Looks like he's getting a fit off in his Twitter picture too. I love this guy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but great spots. And Kyler Lamar comparison, it's weird because like I picked Kyler to win MVP and I kind of deep down knew this was going to happen. I also said that Lamar statistically is not going to be where he was. And like there's going to be this weird conversation around him where people are like talking about him regressing. I think a lot of people kind of have that take. So it's one thing to say, oh, this is going to happen. It's another thing to actually have to go through it and have to like have the conversation and get frustrated and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, the comparison, it's warranted in the sense that they're both young, mobile quarterbacks. One is an MVP, one is in the MVP conversation. But I don't know. Like it's a thing where like you always have to like pit one guy up against another guy, and there's always got to be a comparison. And it happens in particular with Lamar. He's got a big old target on his back for a lot of different reasons that we've talked about. And you know, Kyler is kind of a stylistic comparison. So it's going to happen. I would just say maybe don't think too much into it. And like, that's probably advice that I personally need to take as well. And also like, it's one thing, like Dan Orlovsky, you can say what you want about somebody like that, a guy who, like I said, say what you want. He watches the tape. He does his homework. Somebody like Ryan Clark, who's saying the shit, like you very much don't have to listen to somebody like that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So don't worry about him. As Spencer's connection has cut out here. Sorry for anyone listening. See what's going on. Looks like he just texted me doing some filibustering. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Laptop died. Okay. So he'll be back in 30 seconds. His laptop died. So that's where we're at. I guess I'm just doing the solo radio hour, morning zoo. It's me for the next 30 seconds, he says. So yeah, I mean, the Kyler Lamar thing, it's warranted. Don't go too crazy about it and don't allow people who clearly are not watching tape like Ryan Clark and like Shannon Sharp to get into your head because they don't know what they're talking about. As it's just me now on the camera. Look at that. I look pretty good. Got this little shirt jacket situation on. Okay, let me jump to some questions in here real quick. J.E. Wong 47. What's up, boys? What's up, J.E. Wong? It's going to be wild watching Lamar out Cam on Sunday night. I think that's a good take. I think it is going to be wild doing it. I think you are talking about some similar teams where issues in the passing game, running game is much more effective. I think like I mentioned earlier, the Patriots are a very much amplified version of that. So yeah, we're going to see what happens, but I do think stylistically, you're talking about two very similar teams at this point. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and get the link sent out to him. So bear with me for 1 second. Spencer, okay, I'm going to not read his email. Okay, sending him the link. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, I think two stylistic comparisons for sure. I think Cam, I don't know. Like, I don't know if anyone's been watching, but it's been a rough go of it for him. Pretty much since that Seattle game, he looked really, really good in that game, especially passing. Like, I think that was kind of the main concern with people. Like, that first game against the Dolphins, he's just kind of running around and like going on these design runs and scored a touchdown, I think, on a run. And it was kind of a situation where it's like, okay, they can kind of fake it around a little bit. They know where to miss. They know what to do and what not to do. And it's going to be okay. But then that Seattle game comes up and it's like, oh, wow, this is actually like a real thing. This guy might be earning himself another final big contract before he has to retire in a couple of years. And now we don't know where he's at, man. It's a very weird spot to be in if you're Cam Newton. Bet on himself with a very vet minimum, kind of low risk for the Patriots, high risk for him deal this year at the exact vet minimum. So he was definitely hoping to do better than he is at this point, and it looked like he was going to be, but it's not the case, man. He, was unfortunate to get COVID and unfortunate to kind of be in the spot that he's in right now. So that sucks. Evan Ash, good evening. He said Jellas and then he went to fellas. So that's sick. Oh, hey, thanks for joining us.
I think my laptop actually just automatically updated and decided to do an old restart is what I just gathered. So my apologies.
You're good. I was filibustering pretty well there. Did some YouTube questions. And then we had the Kyler Lamar comparison. What do you think about that?
Kyler Lamar are funny to me because they're very similar in terms of mobility, elusiveness, speed. I think Kyler would actually beat Lamar in a 40. He's a fucking burner, man. He has those short little strides too. But they're just funny to me because Kyler basically can't throw the ball over the middle of the football field, and Lamar struggles to throw the ball outside the boundary, outside the numbers. So it's funny to me in that sense. I believe that Kyler is an incredibly deep, accurate passer. I think that Lamar kind of works outside of the confinements of the offense more effectively. But it's just really, I love this debate. Kyler's the next quarterback. He's the next second-year quarterback that is getting headlines. Cardinals are doing well. I picked them to win the NFC. I didn't mean to, but when I did the full 32-team game-by-game predictions in August, Cardinals went 11-5, and that won the NFC for some reason, which definitely won't win the NFC. Someone will have a better record than that. But in terms of Kyler, Lamar, they're both really fucking good. I don't know what to say about it. Like, if you want me to pick one, I'm not gonna. I think they're both awesome.
This is being drummed up by people like Ryan Clark and Shannon Sharp, who are just not watching tape. Like, say what you want about like Dan Orlovsky, like he's got some bad opinions, but that's a guy who at least does do his homework.
No, Ryan Clark grinds a fucking tape.
You think so?
Yes, big time. He has like a DB like factory in the offseason. He knows what he's talking about a good bit. He made the claim that if Kyler was the quarterback of the Ravens would be legit Super Bowl contenders or whatever. I think that claim is bullshit and just like a take, but
like he's saying that as if the Ravens aren't right now. Like, are they not?
People think that they're not because if they lose to the Chiefs once and if they lose to the Chiefs 3 years in a row, they can never beat the Chiefs and they'll inevitably play the Chiefs and the Chiefs will inevitably be in the AFC Championship and everything that happens in football is already known. When 4 months in advance, we know every team that will play in the playoffs and every matchup and how every game will go. That is what people talk like halfway through a football season, and that's just not true. So to say that the Ravens, who have lost 4 of their last 20 regular season games, 4 of their last 20 regular season games, is preposterous. It is blasphemous, in the words of Stephen A. Smith.
Literally any point during the 2012 regular season, the same thing probably could have and probably was said about Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan. So can we calm down with like the crystal ball bullshit that Ryan Clark does not have, that I do not have, that nobody fucking has? Let's all calm down.
Yeah, I think that Kyler at the same time is outstanding, but I said it on Twitter the other day. If Lamar Jackson threw 3 interceptions to the Detroit Lions and lost to the fucking Lions, the world would burn, like the Lamar Twitter shit would burn to the ground if that happened. And that didn't happen. Lamar didn't throw 3 picks and lose the Lions. Kyler Murray fucking did. The Lions defense sucks.
He was my pick to win MVP. I think he's tremendous. I think
we have a bet. You said you wanted in on the bet. I put money down on us for us to win because I thought it was good odds. I like the value there. And I like I
almost forgot about that. I'm feeling good about that.
The continuous trend of Mahomes second-year MVP, Lamar second-year MVP. It's the narratives. And that's what ESPN is. Ryan Clark works for ESPN. Dan Orlovsky works for ESPN. ESPN guys have to go on TV every single day and stir up some fucking drama because that's literally their job. Their job is they're basically football gossip.
That plucky underdog first overall pick Kyler Murray is better than 32nd overall pick Lamar Jackson. I mean, great stuff. And a guy who doesn't make people angry because
the Cardinals thought Kyler Murray was so good they traded their 1 year in top 10 quarterback who they never should have drafted, and he sucks anyway. But immediately we're like, oh yeah, Kyler fucking Murray. Cliff Kingsbury. Kyler Murray is the best quarterback in the history of Texas. The history of the state of Texas, and at Oklahoma, he's unreal. And I think Kyler Murray's outstanding. He's going to be good for a really long time. People want to make comparisons to Lamar or Russell Wilson or whatever, this, that, or the other. Kyler does things that neither of those guys do, and both of those guys do things that the others don't. So at the end of the day, really good quarterback, and I think Lamar is as well.
Because of what Lamar plays like, looks like, and sounds like, he makes people viscerally angry, and he's more polarizing than somebody like Kyler, who's a little more straightforward. So it's different standards that they're being judged against for bullshit reasons, and I don't want to get sucked into it because I like Kyler Murray quite a bit. I think he's very good. I just don't want to. It's a conversation that it pisses me off a little bit. I think it is kind of warranted in some ways, but it is what it is.
But I my assignment for SIS when I started working there, you finish training. At the end of training, they say, what NFL teams do you like or prefer to work on? Or, they want you to work on the same teams consistently because then you are faster, more efficient. You understand the team, their tendencies, all kinds of stuff like that. I picked the Cardinals. I picked the Ravens, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. I ended up getting assigned the Cardinals. I've worked on, I think, 6 of the Cardinals games so far. The funniest part about that to me is that the Cardinals scheme might be more unique, meaning specific, meaning like outlier than the Ravens. They run an air raid RPO screen offense with deep ball variations out of it. Like they run a very unique offense. So the original subject matter is, based basically upon what Ryan Clark says. I don't think taking Kyler Murray and sticking him in another offense is going to accentuate him. I think either of them would be good in different offenses, and they would be worse in shittier offenses with less talent, whatever. But it's just funny because he's operating in such a scheme-specific offense right now with the incredibly high screen usage, the weird, they have plays where they run screens to both sides, and it's actually an RPO draw where basically all 5 linemen, 3 vacate to one side, 2 vacate to the other on screens, on dual mirrored screens, and then the play is actually so that Kyler can run up the middle. They draw some crazy shit up, and I think that accentuates Kyler. That's great. I'm happy that it does that, but it's just funny to me because it implies that Kyler Murray could run the Lamar Jackson offense better or something, or Lamar Jackson couldn't run the Kyler. I think it's just 2 unique offenses, and they're both talented playmakers.
Very true. Moving on, Matthew Hollister, who's winning the Masters? My pick before the week, looking pretty good right now, so I'm going to stick with it. Mr. Justin Thomas winning the Masters.
I had DJ, Dustin Johnson, both of them sitting pretty right now.
Tied for the lead. Yeah, very good.
Dustin Johnson looked really tired at the end of the, I guess, the front 9. His back 9, but on the holes 1 through 9 there looked really worn down. Is it not crazy? I mean, how often does it happen where there's a delay and they're playing late when the sun goes down early, and then you have to play a round and a half in the morning straight? That's pretty rare.
It also doesn't happen during daylight savings, so they really had to squeeze it in. And DJ, he takes care of himself, but he's a work hard, play hard kind of guy. I'll just leave it at that. So not that surprising in that sense. Jared, been with you guys since under 500 followers on Instagram. It's awesome how fast you guys have grown, and I love being a part of it. You guys have the best content. Thank you, Jared.
Jared.
Hopefully not the Subway Jared. Already hit some of these YouTubes, but we'll jump into it. Evan Ash, good evening, fellas. Might be Friday the 13th, but we are lucky to have such great hosts. Rare Hatless Jake. J.E. Wong also giving me a Hatless Jake comment. It just kind of, it's been a long day.
You got a haircut, didn't you? That's why you're not wearing a hat.
I did recently, yeah. So I got
the truth comes out. It looks good.
Yeah, it also these headphones are bootleg as shit, and they like snag onto my hair when it's a little bit longer. So the fact that it's cut short now, I can kind of go a little bit more hatless. But I do like to go with the hat look when we're recording. It gives me I don't know. It's kind of a
depends on the mood. Depends on my mood. I do hats a good bit while we're recording.
The movie, one of my favorites, Miller's Crossing. His hat is sort of a metaphor for his sort of strength as a man. So maybe that's something that I'm hanging on to there. Maybe some deep psychological.
A regular cap Adonis, if you will.
Exactly. Kyle Barber, my good friend. Hey, just finished the bartending shift, boys. Hyped for the release of the Bozeman interview. I bet you are. He was a big part of it. Spenny was unfortunately unable to be a part of the Bozeman interview due to some work stuff. So we had Kyle pinch hit for us at the last minute. He did a great job leading off. I admittedly was like not feeling great today. So when you let me know that you couldn't do it, I was like, fuck, I can't do this by myself.
If you would have been like, dude, come on, I would have been like, oh, fuck, okay. And if like you couldn't have, I would have done it. But I was just like, this is going to make my day so shitty if I do this right now.
I know you're busting your ass on SIS, and like I also like there's a very specific reason why like you couldn't afford to like just pull back the curtain. Like we get a specific time, and then like that doesn't always wind up being the time, so we'll be sitting there sometimes. And like,
they basically make it so that we will always be early and they will never be early for an interview.
I mean, it's fine, it's okay.
Why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah, it makes it a little more uncertain for us. So like obviously you couldn't afford that, but yeah, hit up Kyle at the last second. He actually wound up going into work at his bartending shift a little bit late to help make it happen. So great job for you, Kyle. And he pretty much set the whole thing up to begin with through his relationship with Ravens PR. So thank you, sir. Evan Ash, really want to know what conspiracy theory Spencer talks to his mom about. I don't know how deep down that rabbit hole we want to go.
If you want to know what the theory was, I'll give you 3 key words: LIBOR, LIBOR, Aurora, and Sandy Hook. We'll leave it at that.
Folks, I got the documents right here.
I got the documents right here. 1997. The scientist was falsely claiming that carbon dioxide was blah, 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 blah.
That guy's a fucking loon. Kyle, hey all, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Jake and Spenny work hard, and this stuff adds up for landing interviews and stuff. It does. Appreciate that sentiment. Just past 250 subscribers on YouTube, I think. So slowly, steadily growing there. Appreciate that. Evan Ash, loud booing for the Talia pun, which you made earlier. Our guy, Mr. Law So Hard, down in the mean streets of Fed Hill. I'm drunk off Tropicana Bros. Miguel Tejada, oh my God, sick birth certificate. Shout out to IM12. Jake looks like he just came from an Italian deli. I don't even know what that means. Kyle was saying, get to the football. I think that was about our mindless chatter that we were doing. Evan Ash has been to Gillette Stadium, and it sucks.
Who ordered a football stadium with this mall?
No, they're apparently it's like a mall situation, but it looks like a nice stadium, like it's new. J.E. Wong, is Julian Edelman a Hall of Faker? Whoops, did I say faker? I meant gamer. Fuck, famer. Is he a Hall of Famer? That's a pretty good question. I think he is, yeah.
He's not a first ballot.
It's going to take a while, but I think he'll get in.
He's like I don't know, man. It might be weird because they have to nominate a certain amount every year. Depends on when he retires and what class.
It feels like these days everyone is getting in, and like a guy that has made that many plays in the postseason, has those rings, and is like an outspoken, gregarious, like well-liked guy. I feel like he's going to get in at some point, and
he'll get in eventually.
Numbers in his career too.
I love when they show his like regular season stats in comparison with like the Hall of Fame average or whatever, and then people get really mad, and then they're like, "Well, look at his postseason stats," and it's like, yeah, I mean, when you do it in the postseason like 8 times prolifically, that's pretty substantial.
Kind of a big deal, yeah. I mean, it's called the Hall of Fame for a reason, because like you're famous, and like he's made a lot of famous plays, much to my chagrin. I mean, listen, he had that touchdown pass that I prefer, never happened, but it did. So we have to deal with it. Evan asked Julian Edelman keeping famous Jewish sports figures alive. He very much is.
Ryan Braun, the Schwartz brothers. Who else we got?
Man, Josh Rosen had probably the best opportunity. You mentioned him earlier to be like one of the best quarterbacks the Tribe has ever produced.
He could have been the Rosh Hashanah Torah thrower for sure.
This is your clan, obviously. So I don't know if you track this a little closer than I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like Greg Camarillo was another receiver. A lot of baseball players. Jews have always showed up in baseball.
There are a lot of sneaky good basketball players too.
Yeah, a lot of odd ones, especially back in the day. But Brad Osmus, I mean, there's been some guys, manager Paul Goldschmidt. I'm trying to think of us. My favorite was Ian Kinsler, the Hebrew Hammer, so to speak, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s ish. When he was crushing, he was the best. There was also Hammer and Hank Greenberg, for those of you who remember.
Very
He was
chill.
in the Hall of Famer.
There was an
Sandy
offensive
Koufax, probably the best Jewish pitcher of all time by far, maybe the best of all time in general.
There was an offensive lineman on the Bears. I forget who, but Robert Mays called him the Bear Jew, which obviously that hits home for us.
That definitely does. Jordan Farmar chosen as well. Other than that, there's trying to think. There's some boxers and then some other strange sports, but not a ton of the tribe in football.
Jules, I think Jules is probably number one for football.
Yeah, I would say so.
Adam Jones, our boy, A Sheriff Jake, and Dr. Schultz back in the buildings. Yes, sir. All I want to know is, you guys think Goff is better than Cam, and if Cam is better than Stafford, and if Stafford is better than Goff. I think Stafford is better than both right now, but I would take Goff in the McVay system, if that makes sense. If I had to pick a system in a situation, I would take Goff.
I bet Stafford would be sick in McVay's system.
Probably, yeah. I think he'd be good in a lot of systems. He's just been wasted by the Lions for his career.
One of the best quarterback prospects of all time, Matt Stafford.
Also friends with Clayton Kershaw. People don't talk about that.
People don't talk about that.
JMac52, do we see some more Dez this week? We really didn't see any. He got 2 snaps?
Something like that. I don't think it was more than 5. I think we'll see some more Dez. He'll catch a ball somewhere in the next couple weeks. Probably this game or the next, I think.
Evan Ash, 31-19 is indeed a scoregami. We touched on that. 39-19 is also a scoregami. There you go.
Scoregami.
G. Shelsby, should the Ravens cancel the rest of the season because of the mean stuff? Orlovsky said, yes.
Orlovsky is a fraud. He said that the Ravens ran the first play at the beginning of the first half and second half when he actually showed the first play of the second half, which was not the same as the first play of the first half. And fraudulent. He also said that they were on the interception, the first one, that the slot receivers ran whip routes. They actually ran sticks routes. Whip routes is when they break inside and then curl back underneath across towards the line of scrimmage, towards their own end zone, outside. And that's what they did on the second play that he said was exactly the same as well. So fraud alert. Dan Orlovsky, you've been put on notice.
He also, he was supposed to come on a podcast 2 summers ago and he ducked us.
He did. Fuck him.
I always forget about that. Yeah, I don't know. I want to like him so bad. He's going to be a star in the media for a long time. But his Ravens takes are just, it's too much. It's too much. Come on. You ran out of the back of the end zone.
Ravens play no good defenses, except for the Steelers from this point forward in terms of DVOA and in terms of other efficiency measures. They only play the Steelers in the top half of the NFL. They're going to put up points, kids. And then a lot of people will be like, oh, but in reality, when you play good defenses, you don't do quite as well. When you play bad ones, you do better. It's really not that hard.
Going to be interesting to watch. Closing it out, Evan Ash. Oh, God, why? Cut this from Kyle. I don't know. Okay. Evan Ash, can't believe Jake missed the airplane joke. I haven't seen Airplane since I was a kid. I need to revisit that. That's my take on that. I haven't seen Airplane in a while.
I haven't seen it in a while either.
Okay. Well, jam-packed show, over an hour, and we still have the interview to get to, which is about 20 minutes. So you got anything else here?
Ravens get back on track offensively, carry on the momentum from the second half of the Colts game. Lamar Jackson's going to start balling out. And, I think it's going to be a big second half for the Ravens. I think they lose no more than 3 games in the second half. I think 11-5 looks like worst case scenario. I say that now, injuries obviously derail things, but I'm excited for the second half for these final 8 games. We still have a lot of football left and thankful with the state of COVID getting worse and people, states and local authorities and governments and whatnot kind of confining things. At least we have football still to get us through. So I hope you guys stay safe, and thanks for listening.
Stay safe, stay sexy. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys stick around for the interview. It's a really fun one. Brad is actually a really, really nice guy. I don't think that should surprise anyone. We touched on his life, his RV life as it is. We touched on him getting to the NFL. Got a funny Nick Saban story out of him, which I was really hoping to do. He gave us a good one there, and plenty of other stuff. So a great interview coming up with Bradley Bozeman. But yeah, on the other side of that, pretty much nothing until Sunday night. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Really appreciate you guys tuning in for our chat here. Be sure to stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, go ahead and subscribe to the show if you've not already. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Follow us on social media. Follow the show on Twitter at Podcast Beatdown. Follow me at Jake Luke. That is LOUQUE. Follow Spencer at Ravens for Dummies. And go ahead and check us out on Instagram as well at Baltimore_Beatdown. And if you are listening to the RSS version of this, check us out on YouTube as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have yourselves a tremendous weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
See ya.
All right. We now welcome on a very special guest. It's the Ravens offensive lineman, Bradley Bozeman. Thanks for hopping on with us, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
All right. We want to start out with a little bit of a lifestyle question. How was the transition away from RV life, and how's it been for you and the family so far?
Oh, it's been beautiful. It's been really nice. You know, we loved RV. It was so much fun. We met so many people. Such a new and unique experience. But you know, it was nice to once we found a house that we liked. It was too good to pass up. Get into it and getting settled. It's been nice to have a little room to stretch your legs and let the dogs run in the backyard. Whenever my wife's mad at me, I can go in the other room or whatever I need to do. But it's been really nice being out of an RV and into a home.
And we wanted to bring that up because you and your wife, you're taking it across the country, and it was for a great cause, advocating against bullying. So let our listeners know all about that and kind of the message you guys were trying to get across.
Yeah. So, for as far as our campaign goes, we went cross country. We went from started in Maryland and then went to Alabama, Georgia, Texas, out to California, and then came back and got shut down by COVID. But we got to speak to, I believe it was 14 out of the 18 stops that we had planned. And something that we had found is, no matter it was Maryland or Texas or California, rich, poor, big, small, whatever it may be, everyone still had all the same problems. Social media, it was fights and, just the social media stream was a really big part of it. But, we got to go out and talk to all these kids and got to really experience and see what the world was like with these different kids in different states. I think we're at about 100,000 plus kids that we have spoken to so far. Done it in, I think, 27 different states. Hopefully one day we can get to all 50, but, it's been a really life-changing thing for us, to be able to have these opportunities to go and talk to these kids. Obviously with COVID, we're not able to get into schools like we were before, but, we're doing a few social media platforms and, different ways for kids to reach out, whether it's via social media, via email, whatever it is. But now we've transitioned into food insecurities. And so Nikki and I have partnered up with Nourish Now and a couple other sponsors, and we have been able to do food insecurities every other week in downtown Baltimore, and doing about 20,000 meals at each drive. So it's been a great transition for us to be able to still be involved in our community and to try to make a difference in these hard times that COVID has brought on so many people.
That's awesome. That story, along with your play on the field, I think has really helped put you on the map as a fan favorite here in Baltimore, which is a pretty cool story for a guy who was a 6th round pick just 3 years ago. That's a story I find really interesting because you were a big time player on the best team in the country at Alabama, but you were a relatively under the radar prospect. Do you remember why that ended up being the case?
So I think a lot of the problem was that people thought I was a system guy. People thought that I wasn't necessarily a good individual player, but I fit into a scheme and just made it work. But I've always tried to myself on trying to be the best on the field, trying to win every block I have, being physical, being dominant, and just being the best version of myself. No matter what other people say. I was apparently an overachieving college center that wasn't going to make it in the NFL, and I strive every day to get better and better. Hopefully I can be one of those big guys. Talked about in the upper guards and interior linemen in the league. So just continue to work every day and just try to make my craft better and better. And just don't let yesterday affect me, and just push forward to tomorrow. So.
Yeah, we can definitely relate. We always have people telling us that we're system bloggers and podcasters, and we're fighting against that all the time. But I mean, that 2018, that was a super interesting year because, you have Flacco still in the picture. You have your fellow rookie in Lamar, who kind of represented the future of the team. What's one thing that you remember kind of looking back on as, a thing that you remember about that training camp in 2018?
I just remember it was hot. I remember it was really hot. For me, I'm being from Alabama. I'm going north. I'm going north, so it should be cold all the time. But yeah, I do remember that. I remember it was being hot. Just so much information, so much knowledge that I had to learn. And as kind of the season, what kind of system we're moving toward, as far as the read options and different things of that nature. But it was just you saw the progression and transition. When Joe went down and Lamar came in, how that transferred and moved forward. So it was it was a cool transition to be here for and to see.
You saw plenty of action as a rookie, but like we hit on, you were a little unheralded guy early on. You remember anything specific with your approach that allowed you to grab hold of the starting job in 2019?
I just came with the same mindset that I did, my junior and senior year of college. Just come in, do my best, be the best version of myself. Because, when you start comparing yourself to other people, you start, well, this guy does this and that guy does that. You're just putting yourself in a hole. All you can control is what you can control, and you try to maximize your positives and minimize your negatives. I think I did a decent job and showed enough potential to get the nod, and then hopefully, I just continue to grow from there and just continue to show that I belong out on the field and I belong in this league. I'm honored to be a part of this team and to have the teammates that I have, the coaching staff that I have. It's just been a great 3 years for me here in Baltimore, and we love it here, and it's been great. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a really impressive story of you kind of coming into the lineup, and it's a really unconventional offense. If you had to sum up for idiots like us or just like the regular fan what it's like to play offensive line in Greg Roman's scheme, how would you sum it up?
It's physical. It's demanding. It's, a lot of knowledge-based work. It's about being in your playbook. It's about being just on top of the game, because, it's just so all-encompassing as far as, the physicality of what we play with. And then at the same time, still having to know, when the backers flow, you have to either transition or let those guys go and move to the next spot. It's kind of an all-inclusive deal, but, it's a great offense to play in. It's so much fun. You kind of do a little bit of everything. And we have such great players to be able to execute that. And it makes it a lot of fun, especially having Lamar back there behind you, just trying to make you right and making you look good. So yeah, it's just been, this offense is such a great offense to play in as offensive lineman.
All right, this is one of my favorite questions to ask everybody that hops on here. It's what's one piece of advice you'd give to some of the younger guys, or you would give to yourself as you were first starting, when you first became a Baltimore Raven all those years ago? What's the advice you give to Tyree and Bredesen that would have helped you when you were in the spot that they're in?
So I'm going to kind of break that up. So I would say for, your college, your high school level, I would say take advantage of every single opportunity that you're given. Every opportunity that you get to step on the field, every opportunity you get to be involved in something, just take advantage of it and live it to its fullest. Put everything you have into it, because you don't know the next time you're gonna be able to step on that field. For a lot of high school teams, I know, especially here in Maryland, there's seniors that aren't going to be able to step on the field this year. They're not going to be able to have that opportunity to show what they have their last year. And it breaks my heart, and it's sad, and I feel it. I feel for them. I missed my senior year because of a torn ACL. I feel a little bit about what what they're going through, but just take advantage of every single opportunity that you can. And then, for the guys like Tyree, the guys like Ben Bredesen, Tristan, whoever it may be, is, take advantage of your opportunities, but then just put in the work now. Put in the work now, and reap your rewards later. Because, that's what it is. You just have to take advantage of all of that.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at those guys that you just mentioned, and then looking at you, I mean, it's pretty clear that the Ravens are good at taking unheralded guys at the position and developing them really well. Is there one specific thing you could point to that, Coach D'Alessandris does, or that the Ravens do specifically that allows them to kind of develop these unheralded offensive linemen in the way that they do?
I think one of the best things that we do, that the upstairs does, as far as evaluating players, is taking into effect their character. We have a lot of very high character players on our team, the guys that work hard, guys that will put it all on the line. All those rookies that I named, I know I'm missing some, but they all just put it out on the line every single day. They bust their butt. They do the right things. And that just speaks to their character and to who they are as people. I just think that's one of the biggest things that we do so well, because it makes it such a great atmosphere, such a great, place to play. When you have a lot of high character guys working together, trying to get to the same goal. No one has huge egos. No one's, gonna explode because a coach yelled at them or whatever it may be. It's just a testament to them and to going after those high character guys.
Now, jumping to that 2019 season, it was such a whirlwind, and you obviously had a front row seat to all of it. How would you compare the atmosphere in the locker room this year against last year, if there's been a change?
There hasn't been much of a change. Obviously having to have your mask on, having to have all the plexiglass. It kind of is what it is. But you still communicate, you still have fun. It's still a great environment. It's a great play. After practice, coming in, talking, hanging out before practice, whatever it is as long as we're social distancing and doing the right things to be able to have a successful season this year, it doesn't really, all the plexiglass and masks don't really affect me that much.
It's definitely weird, and it's been weird for everyone. And I mean, just looking at where this team is right now compared to where they were last year, there is some interesting comparisons and some interesting differences as well. You guys, as an offense, are playing really well, and we do take up for you, and that shows in points, that shows in a lot of different things, but especially in wins. But, there's been some criticism about, I think, mainly consistency. If you could kind of sum up why you think people are coming at you guys a little bit for some of the consistency or some of the other issues, how would you sum up sort of what the issues are in your mind and what you think you guys need to do to really get things rolling again?
We're still coming to our own. We're still climbing that mountain right now. I don't think we have even came close to the peak of what we can do yet, and I see that as a positive. You never want to peak too early, and I think our offense is really starting to come into their own now. I mean, just look at the Colts game. We came out flat. We didn't play worth a crap, to be honest, in the first half, and then the second half, we came out like a completely different team. Came out and ran the ball. We threw the ball. We did what we had to do to get the win. I see a lot of promising things in our offense, especially with the transition of new offensive linemen coming in, changing the offensive line around. People being down, people being back, up and down, whatever it may be. But I see a lot of potential in this offense to continue to grow and to continue to get better as the season trucks along.
I got a couple random ones to throw at you here. Marshall Yonda obviously retired this past offseason. What's the biggest difference you've noticed without having him around?
Marshall was such a great leader. He was such a great guy to strive to be. I've said this in past interviews, but I've never really strived to be like someone, at least on the football field, like I have to be Marshall. Marshall came in, he worked his butt off every single day. He did the right things. He continued to strive to just be better and better as the days and weeks went on. Just to see him fired up before game at 32, 33, 12, 13 years into the league, it fired me up. It's like, man, if he can get fired up for the game, being in it so long, doing it for so long, I can get fired up too. And it's just he was just such a great leader and just a great man, just on and off the field. So, definitely miss him around the locker room. Just a guy like that he's hard to replace. He's a hard guy to replace. And, we got a lot of guys trying to fill those shoes and trying just to pick up the slack that he left. And, it kind of, I hate that he retired. I wish he would have gave us a few more years, but I completely respect and honor what he, that he decided to retire. I'm happy for him. He's like 230 pounds. He's like an outside linebacker in that size now. So
who's the funniest dude on the offensive line? And you can say yourself.
Funny, probably DJ. DJ Fluker's probably one of the funniest. He's got a lot of stories, a lot of really good stories. But yeah, I would definitely say he would have to be one of the funniest guys in the offensive line for sure. Him or Orlando. Orlando's got some good stories too.
What's your best Fluker story if you got one?
Best Fluker story. I don't really know. Y'all are gonna have to get him on here and let him tell some of them because they're hilarious. And then Orlando's impressions are something else. Now his impressions are spot on everyone he does. It's pretty funny. You'd have to get him to do something.
All right. If we can't get a Fluker story, we can't get some Orlando Brown impressions. Do you have any Nick Saban stories for us?
Please.
Nick Saban. Oh yeah, I got a good one for you.
Oh, there we go.
So J.K. Scott, he's punter for the Packers now. So he was, he kind of did as he wanted to. He was one of the best punters in our in college football at the time, but kind of kicked and did as he wanted to. And I think we had one day a week that was punt day. And JK comes out, we're standing around and he walks over to Coach Saban. They started punting. So they started punting. And Coach Saban asked, he goes, JK, why aren't you in there? He goes, Coach, my knee's kind of bothering me a little bit today. I think there's a little bit of tendonitis. He goes, JK, my ass hurts every day and I still like it. Everyone just was cackling laughing, and he got in there and punted too. So it was a funny day there, not for JK, but for the rest of us.
Oh, that's awesome.
How far did he get it down there? You said he punted it?
Do what?
Did you say Nick punted it or JK did?
No, JK punted it.
God, you just gave me a mental image of Nick Saban running out onto the field and punting for J.K. Scott to prove a point. So, that made my day, just the idea of it. But, closing you out here, man. Really appreciate your time. Last question we had for you. I just wanted to, you to sum up a little bit the whole experience that you had with Mo Gaba. I know you were pretty involved with him and through the help of the friend of the program, Barstool RDT. You guys did some really great work for him. So just kind of sum up what Mo meant to you and like all the stuff that the Ravens are currently doing for him right now, kind of that whole experience and the impact it's had on you.
Mo was bonded from a very young age. He never really got to see many things, but I always say that Mo had the best vision out of anyone I've ever met. Mo saw the good in everything. No matter how bad his day was, he was making other people smile. Mo was a truly, truly special young man, and we miss him every day, and still in our prayers, and we know he's up in heaven, and just looking down on us and seeing us play football and everything else. But I think it's really special what the Ravens and the Orioles and everyone has been able to do in this community for him and his family, and the legacy that he has left is tremendous, and I will never forget that. I just think that young man was so special and just so electric, and it was when he passed was a very, very sad day in our community and in the Bozeman family. And, we think about their family, continue to keep them in our prayers, and, just wish nothing but the best. But
Yeah, man, it's great stuff that you did for them, and we really appreciate that. It was pretty big for the community and for a fan base that I think really rallied behind the little guy. And just an awesome story. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming on here, man, giving us a nice 20 minutes. We really appreciate it on your day off here. And thanks again, and good luck this weekend. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Take care.